CJ Stroud had about a 60 rating. They were just over 200 yards of total offense. But the scary thing is they're 9-7 and still lead the AFC South. So this isn't a team like the Giants or the Jaguars that are a 3-win, 4-win team. This is the division leading team that had a chance to make a statement before the playoffs of we're a legit team by going out, and I'm not even seeing beating the Ravens, but going out, giving them a contest.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, Week 17 of the NFL season, Segment 1, Best, Worst, and Most Surprising. Segment 2, our story of the week is when do you shut it down? And some teams didn't get the memo. And in Segment 3, we will talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. With me today, Teacher of the Month, every month, Mike Connors. Mike, what was the best thing you saw today?
I'm going to channel my inner Michael King. The best thing I saw today was the Giants and Drew Lock. I have been waiting 17 weeks to use them in this situation, but Drew Lock was 17 for 23 today for 309 yards, 4 TDs, no interception, a quarterback rating almost perfect. He had a 155.3 quarterback rating. And for the first time all year, I can say the Giants were the best thing I saw today.
All right. Well, I get to chime in. And the best thing I saw was Christmas Day. Netflix, God bless you. I have Netflix for future. Monday Night Raw will be on there. A lot of good movies and specials. But unlike the Tyson-Jake Paul fight, I had no issues with the streaming. I had no issues with the commercials. And hey, CM Punk got on and totally ripped the Bears. Nothing wrong with that. So the best thing I saw was that the Netflix experiment worked. And batten down the hatches. Other sports are going to have some problems now that Netflix is going to get Christmas games on a regular basis. So, Mike, what's the worst thing you saw today?
Worst thing I saw today was the Cowboys. I mean, I know they're depleted with a couple of injuries. They shut a few people down, but they're still the Cowboys. You know, they came into the season saying, we're going to the Super Bowl. Their starting quarterback, who was out today, of course, is the highest paid player in professional football. So I expect more from them to come in and get 147 passing yards, scoring 7 points in the first quarter, and then being shut out the rest of the way by a team that's their, division rival, the Eagles. You would think if any team they're going to be up for, they'd want to beat up on an in-division rival, but they just mailed it in.
So the worst thing I saw today was opposite of your best thing. The Indianapolis Colts were playing for a playoff position. Whether they would get in or not is irregardless. They let the Giants hang 45 on them. And Drew Lock looked like Drew Brees or Drew Bledsoe and turned back the clock or something. So I am so just, Now, again, I was looking at the Colts game strictly for entertainment purposes only, and I was not entertained. Indianapolis, you got to do better. So, Mike, what is the most surprising thing you saw today?
The most surprising thing I saw goes back to Christmas Day and the Houston Texans. They did not show up to play the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they scored 2 points. A safety was the only offense they had, and it was by the defense, obviously, if it's a safety. I mean, they were just awful. CJ Stroud had about a 60 rating. They were just over 200 yards of total offense. But the scary thing is they're 9-7 and still lead the AFC South. So this isn't a team like the Giants or the Jaguars that are a 3-win, 4-win team. This is the division leading team that had a chance to make a statement before the playoffs of we're a legit team by going out, and I'm not even seeing beating the Ravens, but going out, giving them a contest. The Ravens are an excellent, excellent team, as we know. They had a slow start and they're hitting their stride at the perfect time. But the Texans, they've been yo-yos all year, and this was their worst performance by far of the season.
Now, I got 2 things that surprised me. One, Mike, on the Thursday night game, 2 professional football teams scored 9 points in the first half and 0 in the second half. And please don't tell me it was any defense, okay? Nope. So how does Seattle and Chicago just 9 total points? Come on.
Did you
were
take the
better than
over?
that.
Did you
I
take
didn't
the over?
touch any of that
Okay.
with that because I usually leave the Thursday games alone, but 9? And
It's
then I guess I got to do my best George Ockert. Sam Darnold is like the truth. And it's still hard for me to believe that. I mean, he just took care of a quality Green Bay Packers team. He threw for 377 and 3 touchdown passes. And Detroit better win, or Minnesota could take over the NFC North and have home field throughout. I mean,
yeah.
wow,
I
that's
mean,
Sam Darnold, and he's on house money.
yeah, Sam Darnold, we talked about it before the podcast. He started with the Jets, bad franchise. Then he went to Carolina Panthers, bad franchise. Ends up in Minnesota, okay? Great quarterback coach in Kevin O'Connell. Sat behind possibly the best quarterback ever in Tom Brady for a couple years up in New England, learning how to play, obviously learning how to coach. I mean, we talk about this every week. Minnesota just keeps winning, just keeps winning, just keeps winning. Sam Darnold's a legitimate quarterback. You put him in the right situation. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league. He manages a lot of games, but you know what? That's okay. If you're winning by throwing 7-yard outs, stretching the field once in a while, and having a good running attack, you know what that does? That wins games.
And the NFL lucked up, Mike, because who do they play next week but the Detroit Lions? So did the
And I think that's going to
NFL
be for
book that
first seed.
right? Yeah. So the game is TBD, so we don't know what slot that's going to take. But I'm sure it's going to be late slot. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll double check that for segment 3. So when we get back in segment 2, when do you shut it down? When do you say enough's enough, whether you're winning or whether you're losing? Mike and I will talk about that when we get back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today. All right, welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, our story of the week, when do you shut it down? So, Mike, in the AFC, Kansas City is the number 1 seed, and Buffalo is a strong 2. And in the NFC, Detroit can't shut it down because Minnesota keeps winning. So they've got to win Monday night. Philly, man, put that boy on ice. But I know you're trying to get the record for Saquon, but at what cost? So if you're a winning team, when do you shut it down, in your opinion?
Now, let's define shutting it down, okay? In my opinion, in the NFL, you do not shut it down where I'm sitting every starter. I'm not playing anybody. I just don't do that. That's me, okay? Now, if you're fighting hard, like, let's put it this way. Kansas City, okay? Patrick Mahomes.
You do not play Mahomes, Mike. Come on.
He's going to play because he wants to play. He's not going to play the whole game, but he's going to play the first quarter, I bet you.
So you're good playing Mahomes a half.
I'm good playing him a half because he's going to want to play a half.
What about a game? Would you play him the whole game?
For them in this situation, no, because they don't need it. But you can't tell me that either Detroit or me is going to sit somebody in the second half, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, fighting for that number 1 spot, or anyone else who's fighting for a spot. I mean, like we talked about Indy today. I couldn't believe how they went out and laid an egg fighting for a spot. But most teams aren't going to do that. They're not going to sit Saquon Barkley next week. The Eagles, He's going to go out and he's going to run for 700 yards against the Giants and break the record, stand at the middle of the field, and take a bow. And you know what every Giant fan should do? They should stand up and clap for him because they have no right to be mad at him. I'm a Giants fan. He did nothing wrong to the Giants. He did what was best for him, and that's all right because the Giants decided Jones was better for the franchise, and Saquon wouldn't do what he's doing with the Giants because the Giants aren't the team the Eagles are. Excuse me. Okay, but in the NFL, I mean, let's look at what Antonio Pierce said last week, the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, they won a game to lose the top spot, and everyone was saying, "Well, what about?" It's like, we don't play for draft picks. We play to win. This is a short career league. The average career is 3 or 4 years. If you're a backup guard who's starting because of an injury, and the team says the last 3 games we're not going to try, you think that guy's not going to go out and bust his butt to try to make a name for himself? So if that team won't sign him, he can play somewhere else? There's 32 head coaches in the NFL. Those are the only head coaching jobs in the world for head coaches. Okay, they're good. Brian Daboll today. You don't think that he was going to say, I'm going out and winning out so that I can come back and say, yeah, we didn't have the best season, but I'm the best guy to take this team to the next level next year when we draft somebody? You just can't shut it down. It's not high school where, you're 17. No, well, high school sports are different. You're 17, you're 18-year-old kid. You have a bum knee. You're playing to maybe go to states. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to go anywhere. Shut the kid down. Don't hurt him. These are professional athletes. They know what's on the table. There's money. Okay, same with college now. We talked about it last week. The college game is different. These kids playing bowl games, trying to make a name for themselves, moving up in the draft, making appearance money. Okay, it's a different world now. It's all about business.
All right, but Mike, you're Buffalo. There's nothing you can do to move up, move down. You're really going to play Josh Allen a whole game?
Not the whole game, probably, but I'm going to play him. I don't want him sitting around for 2.5, 3 weeks without seeing a game.
Okay. All right, so now let's flip it to the losing side. Giants had 2 wins. You're a Giants fan. Now they have 3 wins. So instead of picking second, maybe, I don't know what it was, now they're in the mix to pick maybe 5.
It went from 1 to 3.
1 to 3?
Yep.
That is official? Okay.
Yep.
All right. You got New England. You got Tennessee. You got Las Vegas winning today. Thank you, Las Vegas, by the way. When do you, as a losing franchise, say, you know what? Let's fight for next year, because even Dallas didn't play Bigfoot. That's what we call Trey Lance, folks. Shout out to Will Cotton. When do you do it on the other end?
I don't think you do. These players don't want to pack it in, the guys on the field. They're not thinking about, who are we going to draft next year? They're thinking about, is my contract going to be picked up next year? You have to remember, the NFL contracts are not guaranteed money. It's not like baseball. Juan Soto just signed $1 billion contract, $700 million, whatever it is. He's guaranteed that money. That's his. He's a rich young man. God bless him. In the NFL, that's not the case. You could sign a 7-year deal, and if it's backloaded, you're not guaranteed that money. They do it all the time. I mean, Steve Weatherford was a punter for the Giants. He was the first punter to get a multi-million-dollar contract on the back end. And you know what they did? They cut him. He didn't get the money. So these guys are going to fight tooth and nail for everything they can get because it's a short career. Get your bank while you can. They're not thinking, well, if we lose this game to the Colts, we're going to bump up a draft pick and maybe get, Shedeur Sanders to be our quarterback. And then maybe next year we'll win 7 games. No, they're not thinking like that. They're thinking, if I go out there and win and I make a bunch of good blocks, I make a bunch of good tackles, I just add it to my highlight reel. And if I'm a free agent this year, next year, whatever, I can go in there and say, you know what? I was the best player on a bad team. Or you know what? I might not have been the best player, but I played my ass off every game. In the second to last game of the season with a 2-win team, look at my stats. I was a guard and I had 7 pancakes, didn't let up a sack, didn't let up a hurry. I play hard every game. You want a guy like me.
All right. So with that being said, as we close the segment, we are in bowl season with college, and a lot of what we're talking about is positioning yourselves for the best players you can get for your roster. You had Colorado, who played the Heisman Trophy winner, and you also had Shedeur Sanders, so Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders played the whole game, but you also had in Miami, Cam Ward only played a half. got his touchdown record and politely passed on the second half. What are you thinking about that if you're a talent evaluator, or as I did as a college coach, you're, that situation has nothing to do with me. So whatever you did for them is fine. I want this player for this reason. What do you think about that as we close?
Well, like I've said this before and caught some flack for it. If you're a big time college football player and you opt out of playing in a bowl game, to me, that means you quit on the team and you don't travel with the team. Now, if you're not going to play because you're worried you're going to hurt your draft status or get injured, that's fine. That's your choice. But to me, that's quitting on your teammates and the other guys going out on the field, and you're not traveling with my team. Okay. The gentleman from Miami who played the first half and sat out the second half, it depends on the situation that he or the arrangement he had with the coach. I don't like that because they ended up losing the game, if I remember correctly. And
They did lose.
I want someone who's going to go out there and put the team in front of himself to a point. But, that could be arrangement they made beforehand. Instead of not having him play at all, maybe that coach was okay with him playing a half, as long as they know so that they can set the backup ready to play by getting him some snaps with the first team or whatever team is playing, whatever unit's going to be out there for the second half, so he doesn't go in cold. I mean, if that quarterback caught the coach off guard by saying, nope, coach, halftime, I'm taking my cleats off, I'm putting my slides on, good luck. No, you can't. I mean, that's just wrong. I think every coach anywhere would agree that's not the right thing to do. But that's my opinion. If you're not going to play, you're not going to travel. And I think that's one of the great things about Deion Sanders. Some people love him, some people hate him. One of the things I respect the most he said early on, no. We don't sit out of bowl games. We are a team. We signed up for the season. We're playing the season.
Yeah, and they wisely got a ridiculous insurance policy for both of them. So I think it was like an $18 million policy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
like
finances is above and beyond me. Like we've said previously, it's a different game in college now because it's now a professional sport also. So that's the other thing is these guys are sitting out because they think they're going to lose millions. They could make millions by reaching incentives in the bowl game. So that's a different argument, different conversation for another time altogether.
All right. So, fans, when we get back in segment 3, we will talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And I'm also curious to see if Mike's got a top 5 for us with all of this foolishness going on. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful antidotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. Our Teacher of the Month every month has the OCP Top 5. Take it away, Connors.
All right, here we go. Number 1, again, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the man. They've lost 1 so far this season, but that's, to be expected. So they're number 1. I still got the Detroit Lions in the number 2 spot. I think that's going to be our Super Bowl situation. I hope that's our Super Bowl situation because I think that's going to be the best game possible. In the 3rd spot, I got Minnesota. They just keep winning. They keep rolling. Sam Darnold. I don't know. He sold his soul to the devil or something. God bless him. But he just keeps going out there and sticking it to people. In the 4th spot, I've got Buffalo. I think they're one of the top teams. And the 5th spot is the one that I hemmed and hawed about. And the hot team this week, as much as it pains me, I got to put the Eagles in at number 5. I mean, they went out and they put a beating on the Cowboys. And I know the Ravens put a beating on the Texans. But I think the Cowboys are a better team than the Texans, even though the records don't indicate that. But in my heart, I feel that the Cowboys are a better team. So I have the Eagles at number 5 right now.
Yeah, so the Kansas City thing, they're actually playing better because there was a stretch that they were winning with smoke and mirrors. Buffalo, it's just going to be tough to beat them in Buffalo. The Ravens scare me because Harbaugh's still coaching,
Mhm.
and their ace in the hole is having trouble, and that's their kicker. And if the playoffs started today, they'd play the Chargers. I think Jim's a better coach than John, but I digress with that. As of right now, Mike, prior to the game tomorrow with the Lions, Minnesota's number one, and
Yeah,
the
and
Lions got to keep track.
they got to keep it up. Yeah, they got to keep track, and they play next week.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
play
going
each
to be
other
for the
next
number
week.
one seed. If the Lions win today, which I would expect them to beat the 49ers in the Monday night game. But then again, that's why you go out and play the games. You can't just pencil that in.
And
So
then the Eagles and the Commanders. Now, again, the likelihood of the Eagles turning the ball over 5 times is not very likely, but it should be interesting with that. It should be interesting with that. So let's talk about some things strictly for entertainment purposes only. I have done extremely well with my season long bets in the AFC. I've gotten 6 out of 8, which is 75%. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Miami, Buffalo, Las Vegas. I picked their over unders correctly. In the NFC, right now, I'm 4 out of 8 with some teams still holding on. Atlanta is one of the teams holding on. If they can win the last two, I'll go to the pay window, and that'll give me 5. And then Arizona, man, can we get that last win? Because right now, they're at 7 wins. I got them over. I got the over under at 7. So the next win is the pay window. So anyway, over my Super 7 bets, I had Green Bay +1. Nah. On a 2 play, I had Tennessee +1 and Dallas +7.5. That
nah.
didn't work out for me. 3 play, I hit that. Buffalo -10, Tampa Bay -9.5, the Las Vegas Raiders as the favorite -2.5. My 4 play, Tampa Bay, Philly, Miami, and Indy. What are y'all doing? Okay. You can't beat the Giants. Over, I had Green Bay, Minnesota over 47.5. They took care of business. I had Miami and Cleveland under 34, took care of business there. And then Tennessee, they were my upset pick, and I'm just upset that they didn't win. Okay. So next week's games, week 18, last week of the regular season. Everything is on Sunday. We've got Carolina at Atlanta. Hopefully, Atlanta can win against the Commanders and then close out against Carolina, and I can go to the pay window. Washington and Dallas. So, Mike, again, Washington's pretty much got to win the game, but we're really going to go after it. Let's see if they do.
I
Kansas
would
City, go ahead.
I would say I would hope they would. It's a division rivalry. I mean, there's some pride on the line there. Hopefully, both teams will step that up.
Playing for pride, and the game is in Dallas. The crowd might turn heel on everybody there. Kansas City against Denver. Kansas City has absolutely nothing to play for. So we'll see what happens with that. Minnesota, Detroit is the game of the week, game of the century. NFL, you guys booked that correctly. Chicago against Green Bay. With this loss, Green Bay just needs a win. Houston against Tennessee. Jacksonville against Indy. Chargers, they secured their playoff spot, but they should beat the Raiders. Seattle against the Rams. I think they're both playing for something. Buffalo against New England. Try not to hurt anybody. Miami and the Jets. Mike, did Aaron Rodgers get benched today for Tyrod Taylor?
Is that what happened? I was watching the Giants game and flicking around and stuff like that, so I did not see that. But let me go back
Tyrod
and
got some run today,
well, I know
and Aaron
Rodgers got.
Rodgers making fun of the owner.
Well, I know that Rodgers also got a personal foul for a late hit out of bounds on an interception. So maybe they were disciplining him for his rough play. I don't
As
know.
Mickey said to Rocky, you can't win, Rock. You
Yeah,
can't win.
yeah. Tyrod was
All right.
11 for 14 with a 131 quarterback rating, and Aaron was 12 for 18 with a 44 quarterback rating. So Woody wanted him replaced after week 4. Excuse me, Ambassador Johnson. So we'll see what happens.
Ugh, that's all bad. Okay. So again, Miami and the Jets. You got the Giants and then Eagles. That's a Mike King type petty than I think the Eagles might do with Saquon going after Dickerson's record. So we'll see what happens. San Francisco against Arizona, Cincy against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has not played well, but they played 3 games in like 11 days.
3 games in 11 days. Yes, that's not
maybe they
easy.
need some rest. I don't know. New Orleans against Tampa Bay and Cleveland against Baltimore. Is there any game of note that you're overly interested in?
And I will give the NFL credit. If we went by where we thought these teams were all going to be at the beginning of the year, this is a really good slate of games. Now, some teams have had down years, but like we said, Minnesota, Detroit, that's a very good matchup, okay, to end the season. Washington, Dallas, I'm sure they thought that those two teams would be fighting for a playoff spot. One is. The Eagles versus the Giants, great drama for Saquon. Having been a Giant, now going for the season rushing record, I predict he will have 870 rushing yards against the Giants and stand at midfield bowing, and Giant fans should just applaud him. San Francisco, Arizona could be a decent game. And I'm interested, I wanted to bring this up earlier, I'm interested to see if Tampa Bay, I'm drawing a blank, and I want to say their quarterback who has been lighting it up lately. Baker Mayfield, excuse me. I had a little mental cramp there. He threw for 5 touchdowns today, and he has been showing it the last couple of weeks that he is a top-tier quarterback. So I'm interested to see if he can finish the year strong. So
a little dangerous.
He can he can sling it, that's for sure. He's got some moxie to him. So I'm interested to see what happens in that game if he can finish strong and make a push towards the playoffs.
Yeah, Mike Evans is catching touchdowns again. So you are dead on with that one. So as we close, news just broke not too long before the show hit. Mike and I are social studies teachers, and I'm a mark for this kind of stuff. That just means a fan. Jimmy Carter, one of my favorite presidents because he was a nice man. Not the greatest president in some people's eyes, but my dad was Secret Service, and Jimmy Carter was one of the presidents that he did some work with. And post-presidency, won the Nobel Peace Prize, and Habitat for Humanity, one of the greatest organizations. They build homes for people, and even in his 90s, he was still having the hammer in his hand.
Still swinging a hammer.
He stayed with his childhood sweetheart for 70 years. He still taught Sunday school. And again, he was just a heck of a nice person. And as I used to teach social studies with Carter, I just love that he said, just call me Jimmy. And during the inflation and everything, he turned the heat off at the White House and said, I'm going to wear long johns. That's just kind of cat he was. So I just wanted to say something about it. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it is definitely a loss. And I had the pleasure of meeting President Carter when I was in college while doing Habitat for Humanity. You could not have asked to meet a nicer, more down-to-earth gentleman in the world. Whether you agree with his politics or not has nothing to do with this. The world lost a good man who hopefully will be remembered for having a heart as big as this country is and having a deep love of mankind.
Yes. And side note, he was also a wrestling fan, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and his mom's favorite wrestler was Mr. Wrestling #2 and the $1 Million Knee Lift. So, with that random historical note, on behalf of our Teacher of the Month every month, Mike Connors, I'm Dr. Keith Adams, saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care and Happy New Year. Let's be safe out there. See you soon.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.